Good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Racebot TV as we take to week 5 of the iRacing Radical Esports Cup here, season 2 of 2026, and we're now slowly making our way to the half points of the season. Of course, 12 weeks of racing. We're here for week 5 at the Virginia International Raceway here in the US of a great circuit in general, and even better for these cars. I'm Nathan Richards alongside Craig King here in the commentary box. And Craig, I've always loved VAR, only because I drive here a lot in the rookie classes and the Class D races, but it just feels like any car you put here, it just works, doesn't it?
It's the ultimate driver's track, and everyone just loves it because of how much you have to push and how much you have to commit. Look at the speed you have to do as you go through the S's up there, and then you've got the long back straight all the way up. But it's all about commitment, all about attacking, and the key thing here, when you've got cars of this pace, it's only a couple overtaking points. That's at the horseshoe at turn 1 and at the roller coaster going into 13 and 14.
Was one of our drivers going off the circuit there before they make their way onto the back straight, and of course, as you said earlier, this track you need to be committed and you need to be aggressive. Well, that works quite well with these cars, the Radical SR10s, superb pieces of machinery. And of course, looking here at the schedule, we are here for round 5, or week 5 of this season, and of course next week we head off to Brands Hatch. I went there last week actually, great circuit, and I can't wait to see the cars head around there. Then for round 7 we head off to the Hungaro Ring ahead of Laguna Seca. Silverstone for round 9, and the 10th race of the season is going to be at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and the final 2 races, the Nordschleife. That's going to be a great race to watch. And then of course we end the season at the Adelaide Street Circuit in Australia. A great season, and I love the tracks that have been picked this time. They're really great, and I think everyone we've got on the calendar works quite well. And here are the standings heading into round 5. It's James Barry, of course, second in our European Championship. He's top, 30 points ahead of Sebastian Lipp in second. Havard Gullickson's in third ahead of Heinz Braun fourth, and Andre Castro, even though he's got 3 wins out of 4 races, he's down in P5, and he's nearly 200 points off the championship leader. It's George Gonzaga in 6th place, only 20 points back from Castro, ahead of Ketel Larson in 7th, Rafa Blanco 8th, Robert Woodward 9th, and then 400 points off of the top spot. It's Ole Gullickson rounding off the top 10. And of course, Craig, we know in iRacing that the standings, the point system, it's a lot of points on offer. So if you fell in maybe 2 or 3 races, that sometimes can be your championship over already. So you've got to be so consistent, and that is exactly what James Barry has been so far.
James is Captain Consistency at the moment. He comes down to the horseshoe. It's their version of the corkscrew, and you can kind of see how the inspiration is there. And this is going to be a vital corner here for the race, with this long straight to the finish line. Coming out the hog pen will be Barry, trying to look to improve his time here as the qualifying times just starting to end here. This needs to be good. He's already half a second down. He's going to set a nice time here. It's not going to be pole. Does put him to the first row, though, into P2, unless any of these other drivers have a say here. And if you're Heinz Braun, there's a little bit of a wait to get here, anticipation, and a little bit of anxiety as you get ready to break for the roller coaster, and then it's all downhill from there.
Indeed, and it's Peter Eveny at the front of the field by 2.5 tenths here around VAR. Of course, we're on the full course of the circuit. James Barry P2, and 3-time winner this season, Andre Castro, is in 3rd place ahead of Peiki Caruso in 4th, and Havard Gullison currently rounding off the top 5. Here's Heinz Braun, of course, in the championship, P4, so you'd imagine he wants to start a little bit higher than 20th place heading into this race as he makes his way down the long run to the start-finish line. What will it be here for Heinz Braun as he heads up to the line? It's a 140.825. He jumps up into P8 just behind Kian Garrity, and then here is George Gonzaga, P6 at the moment, a couple of tenths back from P5, but then again it's only a couple of tenths back from P3. It's that close from 2nd to 5th at the moment. What can George Gonzaga do? It's a 140.775, so that will not be an improvement on the board for him. But great to see here so far, Craig, so many close times. It's only around a second separating the top 12, and around a track like this where slipstream is its king, this is going to be such a great race, because any of the top 10 are here for it, and even those further back could also start to make some early moves and get involved too.
It's going to be about making sure you don't have that elastic band snap in the slipstream. So if you're qualifying at about 5th place, 6th place here, not a worry. You're only half a second slower in terms of raw pace, but if you stay together, the buddy system's the best system. And maybe De Graaf here is just going to get some more sighting laps, and you need to just get that last corner right, because that's going to help you here. But if you don't start near the front, that's where the chaos is going to be, because there's going to be a lot of drivers looking to get to the front or lead some packs here. As I like to call it, Nathan, it's a little bit like his peloton racing in Grand Tour, because there's going to be drivers that want to lead the pack and drivers that just want to make sure they're in the right pack at the right time of the race.
Certainly, and I think in a series like this, that's where qualifying is important. If you're down in the bottom 5 heading into this race, it's going to be so hard to make moves unless you are miles ahead of others on the pace, because it's just that close together. The racing's 2, 3, 4 wide, especially around here. We're going to see so many 3-wide battles, and we'll take a look at the starting grid for this race. So it's Peter Evney on pole by just over 2.5 tenths ahead of James Barry. Third, it's Andre Castro. Fourth, Penke Caruso, with Havard Gullikson rounding off the top 5. George Gonzaga is in P6 ahead of Kian Garrity in 7th. Heinz Braun 8th. Disappointing result for him, considering where he's in the championship. It's Jared Dunkovic in 9th, and Chris Vett running off the top 10 heading into this one. It's Denis Kiriakopoulos in 11th ahead of Roman Foe in P12. 13th, Ketel Larson ahead of Robert Woodward in 14th, and Rafa Blanco the top 15. Next to him, it's Ole Henrik Gullikson. Behind is Kaya Ere Elderson and Paul Tipmer. And then looking at the rest of the field, it's Santiago Lieb in 19th ahead of Menno de Graaf in 20th, and the final car on the grid, it's Simon Flynn from the Netherlands in 21st place. It won't be long now before we get started for this one, as the cars now are just gridding up onto track. And who would you be looking at here, Craig, in terms of fighting for the win, because there's so many that can get involved?
I think you've got to look as well down to where Caruso is. Gullikson as well, 4th and 5th, got a really good time, really good ability. You just got to wait to see. Usually when you've got a slipstream track like this, 3rd place is usually the best place to be. So maybe looking for who's in 3rd. Who's 3rd at the moment? Last week's winner, Andre Castro. So just keep an eye out there. That top 5 could be very good to make some results today.
Indeed, it won't be long until we get started for this one. It's going to be a great race here around VIR, and especially if you're here on iRacing a lot and you race a lot of the free track, you'll know this track well, and you'll know how easy it is to make moves, especially when you're up in that front 4 or front 5, because you've got drivers with different ideas of what they want to do. Some of them want to hold the lead, others don't mind backing off and letting somebody else take it so they can use a slipstream. So there's so much going on at the front where you've always got to keep your eyes peeled of what's going on ahead, because it can get very, very dicey into some of the big braking zones, especially turn 1. That's going to be a great place to watch the action, as we're just waiting for everybody now to get themselves onto the grid. I think everybody is gridded up here for the start of this race, and it's 14 laps. It's green here in week 5 of the Radical Esports Cup in 2026, and a great start from the pole sitter as they make their way down to turn 1. James Barry is on the outside trying to cut a rain, but can't do anything there behind. Andre Castro is keeping Penke Caruso behind, but never really good run out of turn 1 for Andre Castro. He's side by side at the back. There's 5-6 cars involved, and we'll have to get a replay of that, but a couple of cars going off. And also we see, is that James Barry into the barriers? It is! James Barry's gone off on the first lap.
Big mistake there by Barry. He had such a good start as well, and I wonder if that was just too much at NASCAR. That named after some of the drivers, the NASCAR drivers in the Trans Am Series, couldn't take the left-hander in a race once before. Well, Barry should be able to do that, but unfortunately unable to. More side by side there as Gullikson getting pushed off the road there from Gurki. That's tough to go up the S's there, up the snake, and try to go side by side. That's everyone just trying to get a little bit elbows out here, but what this is doing, look at the leaders, they're starting to pull ahead. Everyone's just getting a bit too racy too early because they know how important the slipstream is. More drivers also having incidents in the background, as you can see on the timing tower. Now you get to the back straight. It's now time to be a little bit calm and see if you're able to make some moves. Nowhere at the moment, just going to be waiting out because look at the gap at the front.
I mean, I wasn't surprised to see Kian Garrity's move up towards the South Bend because I know him well. Watching a few friends in the F4 cars, and he's very aggressive, so that was not a surprise to see him making some of those dicey moves early on, as he's on the back of Penke Caruso, who's up into the top 3 at the start of this one as we head across the line to begin lap 2 of 14 here. And here is Garrity looking to close in a move here to go into the top 3 early on. And of course, even he and Castro are loving this. They've pulled away from everybody because of what happened with James Barry. As Garrity takes that 3rd place, Heinz Braun up into P6. A nice move from him to get ahead of George Gonzaga. And Kietil Larson as well, up into P11. They're only a second away from the top 10. And here is Dennis Kyrgiakopoulos in P8. A great start from him, from being outside of the top 10 up into the top 8. And one other thing here, as that's going to be Chris Vetts going off the track. And one thing here, Craig, that rewards drivers is you've not got to be on ultimate pace. But if you're clean, you're going to make moves, and that's just how it is in these radicals, because so much goes on those opening 2 laps. It's very easy to make 3 or 4 moves on the start just because of drivers' mistakes ahead of you.
Yeah, you take a look at that crash at the start of the race. It was just a cold tire moment round the outside the horseshoe. James Barry as well, I think, a bit of cold tires clipping the grass, and you just have to be alert around it with these cars and let those tires warm up a little bit, and that's what some of the drivers weren't doing. It's a colder track out there today, 22 Celsius, 71 Fahrenheit as well. A little bit of side wind as well, but not a lot that would play too much havoc. But now look at the gap. It's almost 2 seconds from the leaders to the rest of this packers. They're battling, they're looking to go slipstreaming. Caruso trying to, well, almost bump drafting, but the leader, they're keeping calm. And I think if you're now at the start here, and if you're Castro, if you're Imanani, you don't want to be fighting right now. There's that replay. You can just see people with cold tires, people with blind corners as well, because the horseshoe's double apex, just unable to make it. And then James, he just goes straight on there. May have been grass dipping there, may have also been hardware failure. As we just see, no, definitely, loses the car on cold tyres.
Yeah, that's not what we normally see from James Barry. I mean, you'd see that from me, but you don't normally see that from James, considering he's probably one of the best. Easily top 3 on the grid, as that was a contact with Kietil Larson earlier on, but he's made his way back into the top 10. So I think he'll be quite happy, given what happened, and he's now up in the top positions as Chris Vetts locks up, goes straight on down into turn 1, and of course a very easy lock up down there. And luckily not colliding with the barriers, because we know the grass is a killer here on the iRacing simulator. As the top 2 continue on, it's Peter Evanier ahead of Andre Castro, and then behind it's Kian Garrity, who, along with Pankey Caruso and Havar Gullickson, are just trying to bring that gap down to Evanier and Castro. As we do see Jarek Dunkovic in the pit lane, and Roman Foe as well, who I think has either had another incident or is still in the pit lane from the first one. And looking at where James Barry is, he's also in the pit lane in 19th place. We'll see shortly if he's out of the race or not. I think he could be, but what a shame for James Barry, of course. He's leading the championship heading into this. Yes, Sebastian Lip isn't here, but Gullickson is, Braun is, Castro is, and they're all here looking to make moves as Andre Castro goes into the lead of the race ahead of Peter Evanier. But at this point, you'd imagine now, Craig, that they're not fighting too hard. They're going to work together. And for those of the Formula One fans in the world, it's a little bit like using the DRS to advantage. It's not just, there's no DRS, it's just the car's slipstream, which is so powerful.
Yeah, you're going to do what I call the slingshot here. You're going to have to work with one another, because you did see that Peter was just there going, no point attacking you, take that lead, I'm going to use you, and then we'll do the same thing again, because you look at the times now, a 140.4 for Castro, and it's a 140.5 for the rest of the field behind them that are catching. So they're only matching, and they're still not close enough. So this is what Gergi and Caruso is going to have to start looking at. They know that they will have to either utilize some bump drafting, which, Radical's a little bit sketchy, or, it's just the little chuckle there. They're a little bit sketchy in these things. They can't be done. Wouldn't want to do it myself, or they have to utilize that slingshot that the 2 leaders are doing, and I think the latter is going to be a little bit more favourable than the former in that idea.
Definitely, and I think you've got Andre Castro, which has won many races in this championship, not just this year, but last year and the year before as well. And you've got Peter Evanier, who I've watched a few times this season, has got some insane pace. So those two, it's like one of the best options you can have for your top 2 to pull away, because these 2 will do it, and they're doing a great job at the moment. They're understanding what each other wants to do, and they're bringing that time down to Kian Garrity and those further behind us. That was a bit of a mistake there from Garrity, heading his way up towards the double right-hander, and that now does give Peike Caruso an opportunity down this back straight in towards the final part of the track, of course, heading up towards the roller coaster. That's a little bit brave there from Caruso, but in the end back saves, and Garrity keeps that P3. Havar Gullickson as well, who in the championship is P3. He can go ahead of both Lip and Barry, depending where he finishes in this one. So this is a big opportunity for Havar Gullickson to maybe be our championship leader. But then you've also got to keep an eye on Andre Castro as well, who now is in the lead of the race. And yeah, he might swap around with Evany for the next 5 or 6 laps. But once you get towards that 10 and 11, that's when the position they're going into He's getting ready for the final lap as that's Kieran Garrity locked up at turn 1. He's gone around and that podium is definitely done and dusted now for Kieran Garrity. He drops down to P8. Yes, he's clear of P9 and below. But what a shame for Kieran Garrity. He puts Peiki Caruso onto the podium ahead of Hanwar Gullikson and now Heinz Braun into the top 5. But what a shame for Keenan. We've seen so many times today so far, Craig, this track is victimising so many drivers on the circuit. It's not an easy one to get right, even though on paper it doesn't look that hard.
No, most of the incidents coming at the horseshoe, and it kind of flattens out at the very exit on the very far end, and that's what catches a lot of drivers out. And then of course it's downhill with the grass, so if you get caught by the grass, it's almost like going into the kitty litter. You're only going one way, and that's down into the tyre barrier almost. I was looking as we were going there, we were on the back straight last lap, and Gertie was asking for Caruso to push him as we see that lock up there, and he locked up, and you can see the rear goes because he's trying to get that car turned in as well. But Gonzaga was basically like, as you see Gonzaga here with Braun, he's not utilizing the push. Caruso is being asked to push there, and I wonder if that's what caught Gertie off there, because he wanted somebody to push him. He didn't want that slingshot. He felt that was the only way, but look at that mistake now. 2.5 seconds to Caruso to Ivanani. This is not going to go the way now, and who has Caruso got to help him? Well, it's Gullikson, but there's only 2 of them working together right now.
Yeah, definitely, and that's going to stop them in terms of charging forward, as that was the move there by Peter Evgeny on Andre Castro, as he now retakes the lead in his green machine, as this is Dennis Kyrgiakopoulos looking to make a move ahead of Heinz Braun, up into the top 6 now for him, as he will be looking to close down on George Gonzaga, who's now up into the top 5. A great start from Gonzaga indeed. It's P6 in the championship, so we'll be quite happy with a P5 here at the moment, and if things go his way, maybe P4 or P3 could be on for him. I'd imagine the top 2 is out of grasp for anybody, but third and below is still all to play for here, depending on what happens further ahead. Here's the onboard view now of Heinz Braun in P7, has got a decent gap to Kieran Garrity, but with his pace, I think he'll be in this train very shortly. Maybe by lap 8 or lap 9 he'll be there with them. He's brought a really great run up towards the South Bend and down towards Oak Tree. See what he can do here. Of course, we know Braun's got some pace. He's up there in the championship, he's consistent, so I think he's one of those that will be looking for moves, but if the move's not on, he's not going to force it, and that's what you need to do in these cars. If you hit somebody, as this will be Andre Castro, just pretty much bump drafting, even you down the back straight. But the thing is with these cars, if you go for a move that doesn't quite work out, and you drop to the back of the field, you lose a lot of points. It's not quite worth it where you can get a P7 comfortably, for example, and you know, extend your gap in the championship or get closer. You've got to think very strategically here, haven't you, Craig? And sometimes not go for the, you know, guns a-blazing tactic, and sometimes just sit back and think, well, I'd rather be P7 than last.
I mean, you say that just as Kyrgiakopoulos just made that crazy move on the outside of 13 to go inside of 14 at the roller coaster on Gonzaga to make that move stick, as we saw on that onboard. As you're seeing them now still battling side by side on the top picture. You've got the leaders still going around, and Ivanani taking the lead again, and they're happy enough. The gap now 3 seconds to the leaders, to the rest of the field. And you've got to feel for Caruso, because it feels like that these guys that we're seeing in the bottom picture, that they are fighting, but they're fighting in a way that allows them to keep on battling and keep on the pace. They were actually faster by 3/10 to that lead group last time out, so keep tabs on that. They are having to catch up 3 seconds at the halfway stage. Never say never, but I don't think it's going to be doable unless there's going to be more battling.
We'll have to wait and see, that's for sure. I think they rely now on incidents ahead rather than just pure pace, because they are dropping back from the leaders, but they've got some good pace to maybe start to close in on Caruso and Gullikson. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we do head, of course, into the halfway points of the race, and Kieran Garrity is comfortably back in that train. He's P8. He knows he's probably quicker than the 3 ahead, so he's going to be on it, looking to make moves as Andre Castro retakes the lead once again. And himself and Evgeny slingshotting each other into the lead and back into second place, lap after lap, just to keep pulling that gap ahead of Caruso, as that's going to be Gonzaga battling it out with Kyrgiakopoulos as Garrity goes up into P7 now ahead of Heinz Braun. And those still come together. Who's gone off? That will be Kyrgiakopoulos, has got into some sort of issue down at the roller coaster. He goes off the track, drops to P8, and Braun and Garrity continue in 6th and 7th place, as we do see once again Evgeny closing in down on Castro, but as expected doesn't bother making a move.
Yeah, Gergi went for a really ambitious move going into 13 there. He saw the opportunity and he just got onto the brakes a bit too late, and we'll just see on the replay, there it is, and it does not work, just catching Dennis out as well, just on the rear, but you can see everyone just coming together, a little bit of bowling there, a bit too much of aggression, and you can get it. He had the speed, he had the momentum, and he was really looking to get back up as high as he could for those championship points, and it did not work for him. And I don't think he's got damage. Well, he has got damage, but that's not going to be giving you many friends. He's back into 7th. Leaders are still pretty happy here, and I wonder if we'll see more bump drafting when they come to the back straight. Now Castro leading, of course, and I do wonder if we're going to get seeing this, because now comes the game of chess. Where do you want to be when you come to those final laps, so you know when to attack at the end? Because no one's shown their hand on the start-finish straight yet, Nathan, and that's going to be the interesting one, I think.
I think your best position is being second at this point on the final lap, because that's when you can make a really good move. Yes, you've got to be a little bit risky from being behind, unless you're about a 10th back heading onto it, but at some point you've got to just go for it. I hope it works as Braun goes off into the barriers. Heinz Braun goes straight on into the braking zone. He now drops down to P9, and this one will probably have damage on his car. But what a shame for him. I think that was heading into Oak Tree, just locks up the car, goes straight on. He now drops down to P9, and that brings Ketel Larsen back up into the top 8. Considering he had a contact on the first lap and dropped down like 8 places, he's now up into the top 8. He'll be quite happy with that one. But what a shame there for Heinz Braun. Another mistake from another driver, and has got Kaya Ere Elderson right behind as they head their way once again back down to the horseshoe. And let's see if there's a move here for Elderson to go ahead of Braun. Of course, Heinz Braun won't be happy with this, because this was a bigger, chance for him to go up into the lead of the standings, or at least get close up, as that's a move made for Elderson up into P9. And Braun now will round off the top 10, as we do see up at the top of our screens, Castro and Evany still battling for that top spot. Of course, if Andre Castro wins, that's going to be the 4th win in 5 races, and of course no top 10 in round 2 is why he's so far down the standings, but a win here would slingshot him. I think it'd be right on the back of the championship lead for sure, so have to keep an eye on that heading into the next couple of rounds. And of course, Havar Gullikson has got a big opportunity to go ahead of James Barry and Sebastian Lipp. Of course, Lipp isn't here, and Barry, yep, is out of the race. That is a big, big shame for James Barry. Of course, heading into this, I was saying, oh, Mr. Consistent, he's always up at the front, and he crashes on lap 1. So maybe he doesn't want me commentating on him anymore, or maybe I shouldn't give him praise when I commentate on him.
I think it might be me. I think the last time I was in a booth when he was racing, I think something happened to him as well. I might just be the curse for him. I don't know. I apologise if that's the case, James. And it was just a shame. It was on his own accord there. The same with Braun, taking too much speed into turn 11 for the Oak Tree, and that's what caused Braun's moment. Got some wing damage as well on the front there. That's going to hurt. And again, you see that no driver is close enough here to look for a move. And usually at this stage of the race, with 5 laps to go, this is now where you start to almost do those practice runs to understand where you're going. Ooh, a little bit of bumping out there. Not entirely sure what happened there, but Gullikson off the road for that battle for 3rd. A little bit too much there, trying to find some space that wasn't there at the horseshoe, it looks like. Well, you can imagine now, Peiki Caruso can guarantee that podium, because he's got a good 3.5 second gap now ahead of Havar Gullikson from that contact. And George Gonzaga is now in 5th, now hunted down for P4 here. He can get involved, and also we can see what happened here to Gullikson. So on board as they head down to the horseshoe. Is there any contacts? Ooh, it's going to be close, I think. I don't like to sit here and be a steward, but I think Caruso could have left a little bit more space there. We'll see the off-board view between Caruso and Gullikson down to turn 1. Caruso doesn't quite seem, does he? It's nothing intentional or anything. It's a very, very wide part of the track. You're trying to get the best line you can into turn 1. You are going to eventually drift out a little bit too wide, aren't you? But big shame for Gullikson. But either way, P4 still on here. Just depends what he can do to hold off from George Gonzaga. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Just trying to open the corner up a bit too much there, and would have had the call, but Gonzaga now getting past Gullikson, and I wonder if Gullikson is carrying some damage there. He isn't. It's just the run of the mill. There's that picture-in-picture as they go on down. The leader's still in the small picture, and this is the closest I think that one of them's been to each other, to the start-finish line. It's still only 3/10 and now 2/10. So there's still not going to be an idea to look for any moves here. Lap 11 of 14. I do wonder if this is just not going to be on at the start-finish line. Because you know yourself, Nathan, if you make a mistake at the hog pen, you're not going to be able to hold that lead with such a long run to the start-finish line. And I'm surprised that neither of these drivers are able to get that close at the moment. Dirty Air really causing them a lot of issues. That picture-in-picture still with 4th place, and Gullickson looking to see if he can get a good run at the hog pen. Well, he had the run at the hog pen, but couldn't get anything else. He's through NASCAR now. And I just wonder if the Dirty Air's really playing factor here today.
The hog pen's a horrible corner. I absolutely hate it because it's such a crucial corner on the track, and it's so hard to get right. A tiny bit of a mistake heading down the hill on the brakes could ruin your race. It can send you off into the grass, but also it can force you into maybe having to brake really early, or sometimes if you brake too late, you've got to brake even harder, and you lose so much speed. It just becomes a nightmare then, heading down to turn 1 without momentum and without any slipstream. So these two have got to get the hog pen correct, or at least take it through at a decent pace together. And then, of course, for Evigny, he wants a better run, so he can look to be in that leading spot. As here is Peter Evigny in P2 at the moment, and looking to close down, but no move for the lead made just yet. Of course, we'll have 2 laps to go after this one, so that's when it will be crunch time between Castro and Evigny, and we'll see which one of them takes the win, which have been... I think both of them deserve it here because they've driven a really good race, and it just comes to who's got the better position on the final lap. It is all about positioning, not pace for these two. It's about position and where they are on the track. Of course, we can see Peiki Caruso still running off the top 3. He's got still 3 seconds ahead of George Gonzaga, so you'd imagine he's going to comfortably come across along on the podium. But P1 and P2 is still yet to be answered for us. Here's about for P11 now, as this is Ole Henrik Gullickson ahead of Robert Woodward, but has made a mistake because Gullickson and now allows Woodward to close in. So we'll have to see what he can do in terms of looking to make a move here in that pink radical as they head their way out of the hog pen, back down towards turn 1. Is there a move on the cards here for 11?
Yeah, he's close enough to make that move. I do wonder if this is going to be on. Going to have to take it around the outside, and then gets caught off again. And again, drivers trying to open the corner up a bit too late there, and well, everyone backs out of that in time, but now you've got a 3rd driver there. You've got De Graaf right behind as well. There's now a 3-car battle for that P11. All the points are important when it comes to the championship. If you can get some, you still got the ability to hold on to that instead of having a big fat 0 when it comes to the championship. But one's gone around too much there, going in to the left hook. And I mean, that was one hell of a left hook there as the car just said no, but that's unfortunate. Then there were 2, and the pack racing just hasn't worked today for drivers.
No, and unlike Henrik Gullickson, a little bit too much throttle there, maybe a bit too much of a wrong angle on the curb. And he goes around. Let's see what happened here then. So heading onto the brakes, nice into here. Now, yeah, you can see it hits the curb at the wrong angle, puts his foot down too quickly, and the car's loose, and it goes around. A big shame there for Ole Henrik Gullickson. Of course, it helps Woodward and De Graaf now in claiming P11 and P12 even more comfortably, and considering that De Graaf qualified down in, I think it was P20, we'll be very happy here to be in P12 as we're on lap 13 now, so this will be the penultimate lap of the race. And we do as well see the battle still between Woodward and De Graaf as they head their way down to the roller coaster, but up at the front, Castro and Evigny still battling for the lead. But now, this is a crucial lap where, heading on to the final lap, they'll be looking to make their positions of where they want to be. Do they want to be first, or do they want to be second? That will be the key thing. And of course, if they both want to be second, that's where things get a little bit dicey heading down that back straight in towards the roller coaster as Heinz Braun goes back into P9.
Yeah, I think we'll know what the plan is from Evigny on this lap, because if I'm him right now and I've seen the lack of power on that front straight to make moves, I'm looking to make this move on the back straight right now. This is the best time to do it, and then set yourself up to defend here out of Oak Tree to the back straight on the final lap, because he gets close enough when they get to the start of the roller coaster, and he's working really well to be right on the back of Castro's wing there as they hit the roller coaster. Get to the hog pen, just doesn't have the downforce, it doesn't have that grip, to really look for it, and he's too far away. And I just wonder if he's just now either not got the pace or he's just not got the run, because Castro's just going to continue to extend this. This is going to be a 3-tenth gap again as they come to the start-finish line. It does feel that Castro is playing a real good game here of, well, attack is the best defense, and he's just been attacking on that full commitment like we've been saying all day. He has to be committed. Closest gap they've been as they start the finish line once again. but I don't know where even he's going to find 2/10 on this final lap if he wasn't close enough there on the back straight.
Indeed, it's white flag and deep goes Castro. Now, was that planned or was that not? That's the question, as Evgeny now takes the lead of the race as we head on to the white flag lap. 1 to go here around the Virginia International Raceway, and it's Peter Evgeny with the advantage at the moment, but we know there's 2 straights left in this one which can still decide absolutely everything in this one. A battle further down as well, as there was a few drivers swapping positions. I think that was Elderson there jumping up into P9, but now this is a big chance, and they're both want to back off here, Craig.
Yeah, they're bumping as they go up the S's here, and now Castro gets off. You can see how committed he is. He's really got the pace down here, got that grip, got the ability, putting the pressure on Evgeny, and I wonder if Peter might just make a mistake here. We've seen drivers go off here, but he keeps it tight, doesn't go for a wide line here to the inside, and he's made a mistake coming on the exit, and Castro is trying to get there, and side by side they'll come to the back straight.
It's Andre Castro that takes the lead here on the final lap. It's a final run down towards the roller coaster. Is there anything that Peter Evgeny can do to fight back? Because he's still got a great run on the back of Andre Castro. To the inside goes Evgeny. It'll be on the outside into the braking zone. It's still side by side. Castro just about holds on to the lead. Couple of corners remaining here as Gullikson goes into P4 further back. And is that done here for Andre Castro and Peter Evgeny heading into the hog pen for the final time? A big mistake there from Evgeny. He loses time, and it's 4 wins in 5 races here for Season 2 in 2026 in the Radical Esports Cup. And it's Andre Castro that takes a win ahead of Peter Evgeny in P2. And Peike Caruso, a very lonely race, takes P3. And that's a battle for 4th, and it's Gonzaga that just about takes it.
Yeah, Gonzaga takes that by 200th of a second at the end, and we've still got drivers at the end battling as well. Heinz Braun trying to get past Kaya Alray Elderson. I don't think the speed's going to be here right now. It's going to be tight at the end, but Elderson's going to get that by a similar gap as well. That's a close finish, and Heinz, well, was close there at the end, but good recovery with that broken front wing on that car.
But what a result there as Menno de Graaf crosses the line in P12. Happy from 20th, I'd be safe to say. And then, of course, behind him was Ole Henrik Gullikson, who would have easily been in that battle for the top 10, but made a mistake and lost out time. But it was Andre Castro that took the lead and took the win in that one ahead of Peter Evgeny in P2 and Peike Caruso reigning off the podium. It was George Gonzaga in P4 ahead of Havard Gullikson in the top 5. Then we had Kian Garrity, who, despite having a bit of a big mistake, somehow pops back up in 6th, ahead of Dennis Kiriakopoulos. Ketel Larson, after contact on lap 1, returns up to the top 10 in 8th, and Kaya Alray Elderson 9th, with Heinz Braun reigning off the top 10. And then we'll see the remaining cars in the field. It was Robert Woodward in P11, Menno de Graaf in 12th, Ole Henrik Gullikson 13th, Chris Wetz 14th, and then Santiago leave the top 15. We did lose Roman Foe, Jarek Dunkovic, Rafa Blanco, Simon Flim, James Barry, and there was one more we lost as well in that one, and that was Paul Titmer, who I don't think ever got to the end of lap 1 after the contact we saw at the horseshoe. Oh, dear me, what a race that was, Craig. And I think we expected that, didn't we? Absolutely insane battling, and hopefully we'll see if we get any interviews from some of our drivers. But that was superb battling, and of course, when we have some time, we'll talk about what happens next week, and we head to Brands Hatch. What a race that'll be as well. A very tight circuit, and that's going to be so more sketchy for the drivers when they're battling 2 or 3 wide.
You look at the schedule, and now it's the technical, the tight tracks. We've had the open space tracks like Spa. We get tight at VIR, and then we go to Brands Hatch, and it is a full layout, I believe, so that's even going to be more fun because you've got all those runoffs there. Well, I say runoffs, you've got all those high-speed corners as well. It's almost going to feel like you're driving an old-school F1 car around here in a Radical, because we've seen a lot of people drive Radicals locally in Brands Hatch. It's a very popular track for those drivers.
Certainly, and we do have our race winner in the interview waiting room, so we'll drag up Andre Castro. Andre, can you hear us?
Yes, I got you.
Perfect. Welcome in. So, 4th win now in 5 races so far in this season, of course, Season 2 of 2026. VIR, I think of all the tracks we had, a little bit like Spa, I'd say, it's always one of those where there's so many moves that can be made, especially if it's just a train for the 2 of you, and it was you and Peter. I mean, explain that from your eyes. I mean, heading on to the final few laps, was it so crucial to be in that P2 heading on to it, or was it just a fact of you've just got to push and hope for the best?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I passed him in the beginning to try to open a gap, a bit to Peter, but he was really fast. and so I wasn't going to be able to open enough of a gap. And yeah, on the last lap, just going to turn one, kind of outbraked myself on purpose a little bit, and I thought I was just pulling over on the straight and braking, but I'm proud. I got a little lockup going there, so I made it believable. But yeah, and then he tried to let me by a couple times, and I pushed him into the S's so he couldn't pull over there, and then yeah, and then he didn't accelerate out of Oak Tree, and I just kind of almost took the bait, and then I did take it because I figured like if he caught me sleeping, he could just floor it, and then if we were far enough down the straightaway, I wouldn't be able to catch him. So I maybe went a little bit early, and then just had to try my luck down into the end of the straight. So yeah, I chose the right side there. I wasn't sure exactly which shot I wanted, but yeah, ended up choosing the right, and had a good clean race down to the corner and barely got him. So thanks to Peter for racing me clean the whole time. It's yeah, I don't know if the draft games are my favorite, but obviously it's a hallmark of this car, and definitely makes you think, and honestly makes you a bit better at racecraft. So yeah, that was a fun one, and glad to come out on top.
Certainly, and of course in qualified he was about 0.3 off the pace, P3 at the start. I mean, what happened there? Was it the case of just not being quite on that top pace in quali, or was Peter's lap just insane because he was 2.5 tenths quicker than everybody?
Yeah, I think Peter was really quick, honestly. I think I didn't put my lap together as much as I could have, but even if I did, I maybe would have been half a tenth or a tenth off Peter. So, he drove a really, really good lap, and I've done these races enough to kind of know that if you're within a few tenths, that if you play the race right, you should be fine. And definitely didn't expect that gap to P3, especially when James went off on first lap. And once we got that gap, I just kind of wanted to maintain it, just like I did at Spa last week, although it is a bit more difficult to bump draft at this track. So I kind of just chilled behind him, and then went for the move. I was hoping actually that if I were in front, we could gap them a bit more, and it just seemed like there was a lot of chaos behind. So we ended up, yeah, getting to a place where the worst you're going to finish is second, unless you really crash. I mean, even if you go off, you can still maybe finish second. So that's important for me, just to prioritize, not losing a bunch of iRating and getting the best result possible. It's nice to have a 50-50 shot at the win. So it's nice that we could work together and work away from the pack there.
Of course, so next time out we head off to a more tight technical track over in the UK at Brands Hatch. I mean, that's going to be a tricky one. It's tricky in all cars. So first of all, the track itself isn't the easiest, but also battling, there's a lot less opportunities to overtake. So what are your thoughts, and what's kind of the game plan heading into Brands Hatch?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there a few times. It's definitely difficult to pass, so qualifying is going to be super important. Not going to be able to make it, next week. I got the second round of TC America in real life next week, tied for the championship lead going in. So really excited to get back with Hyundai and Rico Autosport and my guys and in the real world. But yeah, I'm sure these guys are going to have a great race, and look forward to coming back the week after, hopefully.
Indeed. So, well, best of luck next week, Andre. Hope all goes well, and hopefully we'll see you back here in the Radicals sometime soon. That was our race winner, Andre Castro.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Nathan.
There we go, Craig. I don't think anybody else is in the interview waiting room just yet. We'll wait for a moment, but I don't think anybody's in, so I think that could be the call to end off what's been a great broadcast here, just under an hour of racing around this circuit. And, of course, before we go, Brands Hatch, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think Andre said it good. It's going to be tough to make some overtake, but it's also going to provide some very interesting action. First corner is always going to be dangerous there, and hopefully we're not going to see drivers going off into the barrier like we saw James Barry today.
Let's hope not. No, I'm sure James Barry will be a little bit better at one of his more local tracks, I suppose. But that's all from us here tonight on Racebot TV. Big thanks once again to Radical Sim Racing. So you and me, Craig, in the commentary box, and then to also Hugo in the production booth as well. We'll be back next week, April the 24th, as we head to Brands Hatch for the halfway points of the Radical Esports Cup 2026 Season 2. That's all from us here. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.